think of your body like a thermostat, okay? If the room is too hot, it adjusts. Too cold, it adjusts. So your habits, what we do in our morning, really are telling our body what to do. So slow morning is sending a message, and it's sending the right signal first thing in the morning, because not only is our body under stress, but our life in midlife is really stressful.
Welcome to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host, Jenn Trepeck, talking wellness and weight loss for real life. We're here to clear up the myths, misinformation, bad science, and marketing to teach you how to eat and how to cheat. Are you ready? I'm having salad with a side of fries. Hey friend, welcome back to Salad with a Side of Fries. I'm your host and health coach, Jenn Trepeck, here with you every week for Wellness Without the Weirdness. And we have discussed that menopause and perimenopause are more in the spotlight than ever. And yet, I think there's still so much that we're learning. And potentially, in my opinion, one of the biggest challenges for many of us is the way that habits and behaviors that worked for us for so long, for so many years, especially through our 30s, no longer serve us. And that's a big focus of today's conversation. So let me introduce you to our featured guest. She's a registered holistic nutritionist, life coach, and creator of Metabolic Mastery for Women Over 40, a program that simplifies weight loss by addressing the root stress causing hormonal and metabolic imbalances. She's the host of the podcast Master Your Metabolism After 40, where she empowers women to shed stubborn weight, boost energy, and feel like themselves again during peri and post-menopause. She believes the secret to lasting weight loss after 40 is working with your body to restore health, energy, and confidence, not blindly following the outdated eat less, move more advice. You can see why she and I get along. Her mission is to help women thrive in this stage of life and enjoy every moment of it. Please welcome Lara Frendjian.
You said it so well. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah. So welcome officially to Salad with a Side of Fries.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Yeah, we really do see eye to eye on so many things. So it's fun to do this together.
Exactly. So by the way, everybody, when you finish listening today, you're going to pop over to the podcast, Master Your Metabolism for Weight Loss After 40. And shameless plug, the episode from November 12th, 2025, we talked about morning routines and specifically about energy, all that good stuff. So definitely pop over. I love one of my favorite things about podcasting and podcasts is that very rarely do people only listen to one.
Yeah. Yeah. So true.
I love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Lara, we didn't really get a ton of your story in your bio. So we're going to start with that and then go from there. Really quick though, one more piece of housekeeping for our members. Friends, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. Being a member of the Hub is the next best thing to working with me as your health coach. You get a recipe each week, curated articles, additional discounts from me and our partners, interview episodes like this one in full video, including some behind the scenes pieces, and access to the community board where we can interact, ask and answer questions, so much more. By the way, your requests get first dibs in all of the requests and ideas that are submitted. All of this is yours for just $12 a month, or pay for a year at once and you get 2 months free. So that's a year for $120. I mean, come on. Right.
No brainer, guys.
Yeah. So your recipe this week is for peanut butter and honey protein squares. These are a great pre-workout option. We're going to talk about that more in our conversation today. They're super easy to make and make them ahead of time. You'll have them on hand. So good. So to get this recipe, this episode in full video, access to our community chat where we can ask me anything, go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. From there, you click subscribe now, follow the prompts so that you can enter your payment method, and you'll create your login to access the hub plus all of your benefits. So remember, you're going to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. This shows your support for this show so that we can keep doing this with you every single week.
I love it.
Yeah. All right, Lara, focus on you.
Mm-hmm.
I know you had your own challenges, and now you really focus on, as we've said, women over 40. But tell us what you experienced and how you came to this niche, if you will.
Sure. Well, I was a practicing nutritionist. So my first career was in accounting and finance. And I decided to make a switch a while back. And the switch was because I was having my own health stuff. I had 2 younger kids at the time, and this was, going back a while. And I implemented the changes and that I learned in school, nutrition school, and I thought, wow, I feel amazing. My energy came back, etc. And then I hit my early 40s and suddenly everything changed. I used to exercise, I ate healthy, I did my HIIT workouts, I did the fasted workouts. Like I did everything that quote unquote was all healthy. And I felt worse. I had no energy. I had so much anxiety. I felt like I was losing my mind. And of course, I was also gaining weight, but I had eczema. I was bloated. Like, I didn't have the traditional menopause, perimenopause stuff. You always think, oh, hot flashes, oh, night sweats. I didn't have any of that. So it didn't even cross my mind. The word perimenopause didn't even cross my mind. So I went to my doctor and she said, oh, how old are you? Early 40s. She's like, well, it's perimenopause, very likely. And that was a blessing in itself because back then, this was like 8 years ago, they didn't talk about that. And the fact that my doctor talked about it, which is amazing. So it started me on an entire new journey of trying to figure it out, trying to understand why what I was doing wasn't working anymore. And what now did I need? Did I need HRT? I explored that option. Did I need to just change my diet and exercise? What did I need to do? And that unraveled an entire new path for me. I started to take any course I could get. I started to study nutrients and hormones and minerals and anything that I could get my hands on. I read and researched. And I had to put the pieces of the puzzle together because there wasn't one thing that gave me a view of everything. It was like I learned about minerals and then I started to research on my own. Okay, how is magnesium connected to progesterone? What's happening? And so the whole thing came together and I was the guinea pig. And as I made changes, I started to feel better. My eczema cleared, my brain fog cleared, my thoughts came back. I was no longer anxious. Like I was in a state where if someone told me the deadline moved up or just a tiny thing would send me into this, oh my gosh, the world has ended. And I just couldn't handle stress. And I was extremely resilient. Like before, I would describe myself as Energizer Bunny. I could go all day and I didn't even need to eat. Like I was that person, right? Just Energizer Bunny, would forget to eat. I was fine. And suddenly that everything changed. And so that's what really helped me shift into what I do because I could help anybody. And younger people come to me and I love to help them. I'll work with anybody. Men come to me like husbands of,
Yep.
people I work with. But I have so much compassion for women who are going through this because I know how lonely it can feel. And I know what it is to feel seen and heard. And that's why I do the podcast really, because, I got an email yesterday from a new listener and she said, I feel so validated because I'm working out, I'm eating healthy, and I'm gaining 5 pounds like overnight. And it helps me start to understand that I'm not doing anything wrong and I'm not broken. And there's hope at the end of it because, man, if I could get here and feel amazing, anyone can get here and feel amazing and, yeah, undo the stuff that they're going through.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's so like, I love that listener's message because it is, like I said in the beginning, we're doing all the things that we've always done and our body is responding completely differently. And then we feel like, what is wrong with me that this thing that used to work for my body isn't now, So we're focusing today on what you call slow mornings. And before we get into detail about what that looks like, I'm really curious, like that old Simon Sinek, why, how, what, right? So
Mhm.
why slow mornings?
Sure. Yeah, it's a great question. Because, well, look, our body is changing. So we hit at about 35, our body starts to change. We might not notice. Like we always think, oh, perimenopause, and we always relate it back to our cycles. But sometimes before the cycle changes, you are having symptoms, but the cycle is still regular. It's still as it was. Nothing's changing there, but your hormones start to shift. And this stage in our life, so about 35, our progesterone starts to decline at a staggering 75% before estrogen ever changes. Over time, estrogen starts to become erratic. And this shift, I use this analogy of a stress bucket. We have this, capacity for stress in our body. And as our hormones shift, that stress bucket starts to overflow. And so now we do need to do things differently because think of your body like a thermostat, okay? If the room is too hot, it adjusts. Too cold, it adjusts. So your habits, what we do in our morning, really are telling our body what to do. So slow morning is sending a message and it's sending the right signal first thing in the morning because not only is our body under stress, but our life in midlife is really stressful. Most of us have aging parents. We have kids that are maybe leaving the home. We have careers. It's just a lot. And at the same time, now our body is changing, right? And so this culminates into a very stressed body. And it's interesting. I'll often hear people say, well, I don't feel stressed.
Yes.
And it doesn't matter if you feel it, your body could still be under stress. And you start to see changes, not only, symptomology, right? Just your symptoms don't change, but we see hard evidence of changes when we look at our lab work. And I started to see this, I started to see thyroid numbers, like my TSH numbers started to increase ever so slowly, but they did. And my A1C started to rise. My blood sugar, my fasting blood sugar started to rise. Cholesterol started to creep up. And so these are all signals to the body that there is something changing, even if you don't feel stressed. Because I was Energizer Bunny, but all this started to change ever so slowly. And so we can change what's happening to our hormones, to that thermostat that I just described by shifting what we do. Like if it's hard to understand, I'll explain this as in my group call last night, we had someone who's traveling and she's changing time zones. And she said, is there anything that I could do in order to avoid jet lag? And I said, 100%. And this is the beauty of the body. So what for jet lag, you can control and completely avoid jet lag based on your meal timing. Research supporting this. So if you have a meal and mirror it to the place that you're going, when you get there, your body will adjust to that time zone. And I've tried this 100% of the time, no jet lag. People around me who are not doing it have jet lag. So we can change our body, our hormones. We can play with them and adjust them based on what we do physically.
For sure. I think so. There's a couple pieces in there. Like I talk about the stress thing as, there's a difference between our awareness of the stress because we just kind of live in a constant state of stress, right? It's that waterline of what we notice versus the physiology of stress and what's happening inside our bodies or can be so far disconnected from those two things. And so essentially, even the jet lag. So then the jet lag, everybody, you can go back. We have a nutrition nugget on jet lag too. If you want to dig more, that was definitely one of the pieces in there. So I love it. And what I think that's such a great example of is this idea that our lifestyle, our choices, the things that we're doing every day are sending signals to our body, to our physiology that then translates into all of these other things. So I guess my next question, I guess it's two, right? I could imagine somebody listening and thinking, oh, good Lord, I don't have time for slow mornings. That probably takes a long time. So I guess the two-part question is, what do you mean by slow mornings, right? What does that actually look like? Because you also said to me it might be 5 minutes.
Mm. Yeah, for sure. So my morning routine, like, okay, we all see it, right? These reels and whatever of like this thing that takes probably an hour long. And who has time for that? I certainly do not. But it could be anything. It could be a few minutes. For me, some mornings are longer when I have the time, and some mornings are, I have 5 minutes. But before I get into what you could do, but I want you to just imagine a day where you just got up, you slept in, the alarm rang or whatever, and you had to get up and run. And imagine what that day, like think back to what that day looked like. I know for me, the rest of the day, unless I'm really conscious and calm myself down and tell my body that it's safe, the rest of the day feels pretty erratic. My mind will feel erratic. It's a very different day. And then it could translate into poor sleep that night. So, what you do in the morning affects the entire of the day. What you eat, we know in blood sugar, that first meal dictates your blood sugar for the entire day. We'll talk about that in a minute. But so that slow morning is simply starting your body in a way that allows your body to feel safe. And so for everybody, it could be something different. We do know that exposing your eyes to natural light, and I'm sure you've talked about this on this podcast, it sets your rhythm, your circadian rhythm for the entire day because we are connected to nature. I always tell my clients, think back to how we used to live. We'd wake up, the rooster would crow, we'd go outside, we would get some eggs, and we would start our day in nature. So that connection to nature is still true even in this modern day where we actually some of us, I don't have to leave the house for days if I don't want to. I could order my food. I work from home. I never have to step foot outside. And some days it's really tempting because it gets really cold here in the winter months. But just opening your blinds and looking at the sunlight, calming your nervous system. You can speak affirmations over your life. That morning, that first, as that wake up, when you're kind of like still in a dream state, it's groggy, will you tell yourself during that time, integrating some breath work during that time, maybe tapping and, repeating affirmations, especially things that you feel out of control, speaking truth over that part of your life, praying, meditating, like all of these things don't have to take a lot of time, but they can change your physiology for the entire day. You can either feel calm and grounded and in control or out of control and erratic based on what you do. And it does not have to take long. So, what I would do is pick a few things, pick one thing and really start to practice it. And then notice, how does that feel? How does that change you? Because when clients do this, they will report back and they will say, okay, I think this made a difference. Like I'm feeling calmer. I have more of an appetite in the morning. My sleep is improving. My energy is improving. Like it seems so small, and subtle, but it makes all the difference when you do it and you start to pay attention to how this impacts you. And yeah, we'll talk about more things, but that's really what I want to say about a slow morning. It doesn't have to be spectacular. It's just tiny, tiny shifts. Oh, avoid the phone, please. Avoid the phone for the first 30 to 60 minutes, ideally. Don't expose yourself to blue light and stress as you roll out of bed. Like, how many of us wake up with our alarm? Or we wake up in the middle of the night, we can't sleep, and we end up scrolling because it just does the opposite of what your body needs at that moment. It's just to calm itself and go back to sleep. So avoid the phone for at least the first 30 minutes, ideally for the first 60 minutes.
Okay, Lara. So We're going to do 5 minutes or so of some of these things that really calm the nervous system. And then what? You've mentioned delaying coffee.
Yeah. So definitely delay coffee. I like to time it with just after breakfast, with breakfast or after breakfast, but wait at least an hour and a half until you have your first coffee. First of all, it'll be more satisfying. Second of all, there's research around coffee. And research is really interesting because some research will tell you it's amazing, and other research will tell you that it's the worst thing in the world and it's, carcinogenic, etc. But the research is clear in that delaying it will benefit your body. And here's what generally happens. If you have caffeine first thing in the morning, and the same it holds true for tea, and I researched this, and some of my clients are tea drinkers and not coffee. The same holds true for tea. If you delay it, what happens is your body doesn't become reliant on the caffeine in order to spike cortisol, because coffee does raise the stress on the body. And when your body is under stress, cortisol rises. And whenever we do something that the body naturally does, so cortisol is the hormone that wakes us up in the morning and it rises, and that's why we wake up. It's like our natural alarm clock. Now, if you have coffee first thing in the morning, your body will become reliant on that caffeine in order to raise your body's cortisol. So, what happens is you feel groggy. You become that person. So, if you become reliant on coffee, you're groggy when you wake up. You're telling everybody not to talk to you until you have your first cup of coffee because your body has now become so reliant on the caffeine. And so initially it might be a little bit difficult, but truly, even my most unconvinced clients, which when they come to work with me, they're pretty convinced, the most resistant to change their caffeine, as soon as they do, within the first few days, most of them, okay? So this isn't 100% of the time, but I find caffeine is the one, except for that one client, is the one that is most obvious of a change, because when you delay it, your need for that second cup later on in the day will dissipate. You have more energy in that afternoon. That dip in the afternoon won't happen because you don't have this surge and crash in cortisol and blood sugar. And a lot of things change with that caffeine change. So that's one. I think I've talked about enough about
Yeah.
coffee. Eat a real breakfast. So many of us have become used to skipping breakfast, and fasting is a big craze still. And I do integrate fasting now. I just do it differently, and I integrate it for my clients after their body is healthy enough to handle some sort of fasting. But eat a breakfast, usually within the first hour, and eat a real breakfast. So I know for my cortisol issue or imbalance ladies, it's really hard to eat breakfast in the morning. And I have a lot of these ladies like in their 60s and they're just not hungry in the morning. Some are younger. I'm not hungry in the morning. Well, this is a telltale sign of a cortisol issue. And generally, often sleep is a problem as well. So we have to sometimes ease into this, but I'll say eat breakfast even if you're not uber hungry. And sometimes it helps to have some ginger tea, to have some lemon water in order to improve your appetite and stimulate digestive juices. But eat a power packed breakfast. And often, once we do, I'll have messages from clients saying, "Oh my gosh, it's 2 o'clock and I'm still not hungry. I have so much energy. My sugar craving is gone." It's just such an amazing thing to be able to eat. And I do something called like a front load method where we're winding down our eating. So it's really a big breakfast and a moderate lunch and a smaller dinner, because it's consistent with how our physiology works and how we digest food. Generally, our body, again, you remember, we were talking about changing our physiology based on what we do. So our eating will tell our body that it's wide awake time versus our fasting will send a signal to our body that, okay, we're winding down the day. We're winding down our digestion. Our digestion naturally winds down and it's connected to sunlight. So just kind of look at your breakfast, and I aim between 5 to 700 calories for breakfast. Of course, protein forward, fat heavy, and some carbohydrates. So the ratios kind of that I work with are 25 to 30% protein, about 20 to 30% carbohydrates, and the rest of it will be fat. And that ratio will keep your blood sugar stable and keep you full so you're not grazing through the day. And so if you just start there, you're going to see things change. You're going to see those cravings dissipate. And ultimately, even my most stubborn, they can't lose a pound. They've been doing everything and they're just seeing their weight on the incline. They'll message me, "Oh, I've lost 8 pounds." And we're not even in the weight loss phase, because I take clients through stages. And the first stage is really to get their circadian rhythm healthy, to get their stress load decline, to get their metabolic rate increase, and, for their metabolism to be working, for them to be going to the bathroom and sleeping through the night. Like, we're trying to get a healthy body. And even though we're not in trying to lose weight, the weight is coming off versus continuously increasing. So it's just amazing what happens when you give the body the right things.
Exactly. Well, and it's a piece of sending the signals and managing those underlying pieces that are blocking
Mhm.
all of the other efforts that we're sort of white knuckling it and so frustrated I see with people all the time. So essentially, I love, we're talking about breakfast. We talked about even over the course of the day, how we think about our food. We have a little rule of thumb. The later we eat, the lighter we eat, right? So
Yeah.
as we go through the day. And in that conversation of what we want to do in the morning, you also touched on some of the things that we're doing that are self-sabotaging. So I just want to highlight that to be skipping breakfast.
Mhm.
Maybe attempting even fasting when our body isn't equipped to benefit from that added stressor. And I also see, and sounds like you do too, that how we go about fasting has a major impact on whether or not we see the benefits from it.
For sure.
And you also talked about not starting our day with that coffee or caffeine, even if it's not coffee. And so naturally to me, that brings up the question of movement in the morning and
Mm.
specifically fasted workouts, because I think there's a lot of question
Mhm.
around, am I supposed to work out fasted? Am I not? What happens? How do I put all these pieces together? And I do see even for myself that certainly changed,
Yeah.
after 40. So what do you notice and what do you recommend to people around that?
Right. So I would say initially, no, you don't do fasted workouts. I will tell you, Jen, that over time, my body could handle it, which is very interesting. So as the body heals, its capacity for stress increases. And any exercise is a stressor. So would I go to the gym and power lift on an empty stomach? No, I wouldn't. But I could go for a walk. I could rebound. I mean, my preference of workout, I love my rebounder. I'm like, that's what I do. I rebound. I rebound 20 to 30 minutes every day. And I do it generally now in the morning. Now, I didn't before. Even if I did it before, it would still stress me out. But how we work out, again, what we do is so connected to our physiology. Like, if you breathe through your nose and you exercise, cortisol will not spike very high, because now breathing through the nose, when we're stressed, we're generally mouth breathing. And so when we breathe through our nose, it's telling our body that it's safe. And you can't increase your heart rate as high, but over time, your lung capacity increases. So that's just a side note. But essentially, you can over time exercise in a fasted state if you're not overly taxing your body. But initially, I would say absolutely not, because Like if you exercise and you feel like you need a nap or you crash later on in the day, two very telltale signs that this workout is too stressful. Or you work out and you feel more inflamed and puffy. Like I was working out and I was gaining weight and I was water weight, but I'd feel so puffy. I'm like, did I just gain weight? And I worked out, like had a great workout. It was hard and I would get more puffy. Well, these are all sending signals to the body. They're trying to hint, oh my gosh, Lara, this is too stressful. Jen, stop it. It's not, you're not doing me any good. So fasted workouts for a period of time are parked. And depending on, what's going on in the mineral status and the stress status of your body, it will determine how long it will take. But we generally go on symptomology. For some clients, they'll want to run a second set of blood work to see what's going on and if their body is responding and how their body is responding to what we're doing. So initially, yeah, absolutely not. Not a good
And
idea.
yeah, and so I have a follow-up on that, but I've noticed the same thing, that now my capacity for the fasted workouts is different. And to your point, it's not always a fasted workout. But so when we say not a fasted workout and eating something before that movement, and I find that more and more people are getting that workout in the morning to ensure that it happens.
Yeah.
So what does it look like to you to have that pre-workout fuel? Because I
Yeah.
think that's another piece that gets so confusing, because if the opposite of fasted is fuel, does that look the same as if I'm not going from first meal to exercise?
Yeah. So you're not going to have a full meal because you're not going to be able to, if we said working out is a stressor, well, we can either be in rest and digest or in stress state. So if you're in stress state, that food is going to, remember in gym class, they would say, don't run after lunch, right? They would never put gym class after lunch. So have a small meal. And I look at, 15 grams of carbs with a little bit of fat or protein. So just a small, like a half an apple with some almond butter, just something small, but with enough carbohydrates to sustain that workout and not spike your cortisol, because cortisol is trying to regulate your blood sugar. So if you're fasted and you have no glucose in your bloodstream, then cortisol is going to spike because your body needs that energy. So we're trying to quiet down anything that could stress out our body. And I also will give my clients some sort of electrolyte. So electrolytes, like we need minerals to
Minerals.
function. Our body needs minerals. We need sodium, potassium, magnesium, and trace elements. So have some sort of electrolyte drink beforehand, and you'll find that your energy will be extremely stable. So I think those two are a great place to start.
Excellent. Any other unwittingly self-sabotaging behaviors that we can address for people?
Well, this one might not have to do with the morning, but evenings matter as well. So, what you do the day before impacts you the day after. So, eating late, right? We talked about fasting, but, I like to give clients a great place we can all start is 12-hour overnight. Now, you're going to have to watch your sleep, because people who come to me that are extremely stressed, cortisol is extremely erratic, they need a bedtime snack initially, or else it's going to disturb their sleep and they can't do the 12-hour fast. So, depending on who you are and where you're at, the majority of people could do a 12-hour fast. And, staying up past that, if melatonin rises in the evening and cortisol is supposed to decline, well, staying up and doing a lot of work and getting that second wind that so many of us do, well, that is going to impact you the very next day. So I'd say another caution is just take a look at your evening and yeah, watch what you're doing there.
Yeah,
and
for
and
sure.
don't have that midnight snack, right? Unless your body really needs it and it's small.
Yeah. And I think to that point too, and I hope what everybody's also hearing is that when we're looking for that fast, it includes our sleeping window.
Yes.
So for everybody, please, that's especially for women over 40. I talk about this, we want our fasting window to include our sleep rather than the time when we're expecting our body and our mind and our brain to perform.
Yeah. And research is so clear on this.
Yeah.
Right? Fasted overnight, our body wants to be in a fast while we're sleeping. Your detox pathways are heightened. So if you're waking up at like 2, 3 a.m., well, that's a signal that cortisol is spiking. You might have liver stuff going on that we need to address. It's not just this mystery. Your body's sending you signals that something's going on, and it's really best to try some of the things that we're talking about on this episode, but also dig a little bit deeper and understand what's happening to your body. It's like it's sending you a message, please help me. And often we're like, I don't know what's going on. But it's sudden, and I understand. Okay, I'm not blaming us, honestly, because I was in the same state. Why am I so bloated? Why do I have eczema? Well, I was doing all this stuff that was totally taxing my body. And so if we just start to tune in and pay attention when we get these signals, that we need to make adjustments and start small, and your body will start to respond.
Yeah, I think that's a beautiful place to sort of, put a pin in it. But I think too, the piece to add to that is sometimes the thing that we need to do is actually less. We need to do less to
100%.
help the body respond.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, awesome. We're ready for our rapid fire off topic questions. Are you ready?
I think so.
All right. You got this. All right. What's the best thing you've done for your health this week? What's the naughtiest thing you've done related to your health this week? Not that anything's naughty, but like, the salad and fries of your week.
Yeah. So the best thing I did actually was on Mondays. I was telling, again, my ladies in my group, I love them, by the way, last night that, after the Easter weekend, it's just amazing how your body starts to get accustomed to what you used to do or what you did on the weekend. So on the Easter weekend, it was just, I ate more and I ate more sweets than I normally do. And come Monday night, and it's like 8 o'clock, and I'm thinking, ooh, I want something. I really want, and generally I'm not thinking about food after dinner, it's just not an issue. And I was like, oh, I really want popcorn. So the best thing I did is I talked myself through it. And I said, okay, Lara, you could totally have the popcorn, but is this going to impact your sleep? 100%. Okay. How's it going to affect your digestion on Tuesday morning? Is it worth it? And I thought, no, it's not worth it. Okay, we're just going to have some tea instead. And so the best thing I did is I talked myself through that. And I said, if I want popcorn tomorrow, I could definitely have it during the day. No problem. And the naughtiest thing, well, coming out of Easter weekend, I included a couple of, my mom makes these Easter sweets, and I had it at lunch every day since. I didn't have it today, actually, but Monday and Tuesday, I had it with right after my lunch. And I thought, that's okay. And it's, my body has the capacity to digest this, and it's going to be fine. And so I guess that's the
Absolutely.
naughtiest thing I did.
I love it. All right. If you weren't a registered holistic nutritionist and coach, what would you do?
Oh, in life?
Yeah.
Ooh, really good question. My ultimate dream life is to be living in a completely different place, in a different country, and helping women start small businesses to kind of
Yes.
sustain their life. That's what I'd be doing.
Love that.
And I think that'll be my retirement job.
Amazing. Your favorite book on any topic other than your area of expertise, or you could give us a fiction book.
I love reading spiritual books. So my favorite one, it's called Victorious Prayers by Wendy Backlund.
If you could cure one ailment, disease, or sickness, what would it be?
Oh, cancer.
If you were a superhero, what would be your superpower?
Oh, time travel.
Ooh. Well, now a follow-up. Where are you going, future or past?
Both.
Okay.
Everywhere.
Everywhere. All right. What's your biggest pet peeve?
I think chewing, loud chewing.
I get it.
Yeah.
Last one, in your opinion, what's the next frontier in wellness?
I think getting back to basics, getting more connected to nature, more connected to the way that we used to live. I think that's where it's at, because the world. And I love technology, but it's a lot. It's just really dysregulating and has a bigger impact than we can imagine. So I think all of us are craving nature and more connected to nature. And I was watching a video and he said the YouTube channels that are growing the fastest are actually the setting is in nature. People are just outside talking. And I thought, well, that makes sense. We all want to be outside. And here we are watching it on YouTube.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you for being here, Lara Frendjian. Tell everybody how to connect with you, where to learn more, and connect with you directly.
Sure. Yeah. A great place to start is just my podcast, Master Your Metabolism After 40. Check it out. And then I do hold monthly workshops. So you can register now at nutritionherway.com/workshop, and it'll put you in on the next upcoming workshop. It's live. It's like we work through and navigate a plan for you during that workshop. So it's really beneficial.
Awesome. I love it. And we have links to everything so everybody can find that super easily. Thank you again. Appreciate your expertise, how you explain everything, and also how aligned we are. It's a pleasure. So thank you.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. All right, friends. On Friday, in this week's Bite Size bonus episode, we're talking about Boost Coos. So I saw this online. It's supposed to be a healthier couscous. So we'll see for ourselves if it checks out on Friday in this week's Bite Size bonus episode. Be sure wherever you're listening, click the plus sign or the follow button, and then your app will alert you when it goes live on Friday morning. All right. Well, as always, everybody, I'm Jenn Trepeck. Connect with me on Instagram or all social media. I'm at Jenn Trepeck, JENNTREPECK. Website is asaladwithasideoffries.com. Please reach out, pick your platform, whatever is easiest to share your takeaways, your ideas, your questions. It's also the easiest way to learn more about working with me as your coach. Lara Frendjian, thank you again for being here.
My pleasure, Jen. This was so much fun. I can't wait to hear from your listeners.
Yes, amazing. And friends, if you are not already, join us in the Happy Healthy Hub. You'll go to asaladwithasideoffries.com/membership. This shows your support for this podcast, this community. Above all, though, it supports your health. On top of this week's episode in full video with some behind the scenes content, your 24/7 Ask Me Anything on the community board. You'll get this week's recipe for the peanut butter and honey protein squares, an incredible pre-workout snack. So until next week, remember, choose slow mornings. They just might be the answer for menopause and perimenopause, hormone balance, and energy. Well, friends, that's it for today's episode of Salad with a Side of Fries. Congratulations for making yourself and your health a priority. Thanks so much for joining us. Be sure to click subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. Share us with a friend, and we'll be back next week. Always remember, you deserve it, and you are worth it. Happy healthy.